What's up, guys? So obviously, just from the title, I've probably already pissed some people off. So before you start getting mad, blowing me up in the comments about how I'm wrong and how I don't know anything and all that other stuff, just hear me out for a minute. Let me explain to you how I'm able to run all of this tons of dust collection with only using a 2 horsepower dust collection system. The only way that you are going to be able to achieve that is by having your outfeed of your dust collection system actually outside of the building. You do not need a Cyclone if you do it this way. You do not need extra filtration. This is my 2 horsepower motor, sending it directly outside. And then from the outside, it actually goes into a wagon that we use for bedding for some of our animals that we have around here. Okay, so now I know that this will not pertain to everyone. There are some people that live in areas, they live in cities that have codes. You know, they have regulations on all of this, but you could build a nice, even with neighbors, you can build a nice box, wooden box outside, put some vent hose in it for the small particles. The problem with airborne particles, dust particles, is when you're using a piece of equipment that is creating this in a small space. So let's say a garage or our workshop. Everything that we use creates small dust particles. That is the worst thing for you as far as woodworking. The EPA has said that for every 100 pounds of sawdust that we create, we actually create 5 pounds of dust particles that are less than 30 microns. So 30 microns is what is considered airborne. So it can just float through the air. Anything below 10 microns we cannot see. It cannot be detected by the human eye. So if you live in an area where you can, have your outfeed from your dust collection going outside. If you think about it, all manufacturing companies, so all of your big woodworking manufacturing, where does their dust collection go? It's all outside because it has to be. Dust collection has to be set up outside for these companies because of fire hazards, because of those particles that get into the air. And what companies have done that sells dust collectors is they have created just the small versions of what they use in manufacturing, but they made them where people have to keep them inside. So they didn't make them waterproof and resistant to the elements. So when they started doing that, they started adding on these filters, be it a micron bag, you know, a 5 micron, 10 micron, 30 micron bag. Now, some companies have gotten actually really good at creating some filters, you know, some HEPA style filters, things like that. You know, if you're in a place to where you have to keep everything inside or indoors, by all means, you know, use the Cyclone, use the filters, you need all of that stuff. But if you are actually pushing all of your sawdust and fine particulates outside, you don't need any of it. It's actually going to increase your CFMs for your shop tremendously because there is no drag or static pressure from your Cyclones. So that's what all these big manufacturers do. Everything is outside. The large particulates, 30 microns or larger, are typically collected, you know, below their gigantic, you know, 2-story Cyclones that are pulling everything out of the building. Again, dust collection should be out of the building. And the smaller particulates, you know, they go into the air, anything that can, you know, just float away. And we're not talking about a ton, just like any other dust from people mowing their grass. There's no difference. The difference is we're inside of an enclosed building. So that's what makes it so much worse. Let me show you how I have mine set up. Okay, I've already shown you it goes outside. I do not have neighbors. I live in the country, so that's a perk for me. But even if you do in town, you can make this to where it's not loud at all, and I'll actually have my dust collection on so you can actually hear how loud it is. Your neighbors aren't going to complain about it, and you're going to get the optimal performance out of your dust collector. Okay, so this is what my dust collection setup looks like from the outside. And it just goes down into a little wagon. The dust collector is on. It's not terribly loud. But what I've done is I've just taken my wagon, put a piece of foam on it. You can do this several different ways. You can build a box. And then I drilled several holes into the top of that just so some of the fines can escape. It has been proven that hobby woodworkers are exposed to way more dust particulates than, let's say, someone working in a furniture factory or a woodworking factory, because their dust collection is outside. In a study that I'd read, it actually said that 3 hours of working in an enclosed shop is the equivalent to several months of an employee working in a woodworking factory. I mean, think about that. Because we're keeping all of these particulates inside. We're keeping all of these 10 microns and less particulates, the ones that we can actually inhale, get into our lungs, we're keeping them inside where we're working. So I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking. You're saying all of these different companies, you know, they're offering these 5 micron, let's say if it's a bag system, you know, that puts the air back into the system, it's pushed through a bag. You know, they're offering these new 5 micron bag systems. Well, they used to be 30 micron, all right, just a few years back, and now they're 5 micron. How did we get that? Anytime that a company is giving you numbers like that, we need to think about how they came up with those numbers. So after a little bit of research, checking into it, I found out that these manufacturers are not regulated in any way as far as when they test these filters, when they test these bag systems, as far as being able to advertise 5 micron, 1 micron. I mean, I've seen them all the way down to 0.3 microns. But what they have figured out is, as long as these companies achieve this level of filtration, at some point they can advertise that they have a 1 micron filter, or this bag system filters down to 5 microns. There's no regulation that says it has to be a brand new filter. I would like to see that. Apparently, you know, through this research, I found that, you know, there are some very, very, very good, like HEPA style filters, things like that, that will actually do what they say, but they hold those to different standards than typical dust collection type of filters. So let's say that it takes 1,000 times for, we're going to go off the bag filters, because now they say that they can get them down to 5 microns, where they used to be 30. So we have the bag system. We do our first test, second, third, 100th test, and we're still at 30 microns. As more of the fine dust starts to clog this filter up, it's going to be harder to push out dust, more air, because it's actually thickening up. It's actually creating a coating on the inside of that bag. The more that they run it, the more that you run it, the harder that it is going to be to get it out. So you can test it and test it and test it until you get to the number that you want. The longer that you run it, the less that it's cleaned, the higher of the microns that are going to be going out into the air is going to be, because they can't fit through there anymore. But what they do not tell you is that your suction is now crap throughout the rest of your shop. So if you live in an area where you have to have indoor dust collection, look this stuff up. Find out how these companies came up with their numbers, what tests that they ran. Did they use a new filter? You'll be surprised by the results that you're going to find whenever you start to look into it. But if you live in an area where your dust collection can be fed outside, then absolutely do it. Like I said, build a nice little wooden box, you know, if you have neighbors or however. with just some little vent holes. It's not going to create enough fine particles to affect anything. Okay, so I know what a lot of people are already thinking, you know, and this is what's going to piss people off is they've already bought this stuff. They've already bought Cyclones, things like that. So I guess this video may be geared more towards people looking into dust collection, but still, if you live in an area where you can pipe out the sawdust, absolutely do it. Even if you've already bought the system, if you bought the Cyclone, whatever, sell it. To me, it's a waste of money, but that's just to me based on where I live and my particular setup. For you, it may not be. You may have to have it and absolutely do all of those things. So again, not trying to make people mad, not to stir up, you know, any kind of crap on here. I get enough negative feedback as it is. But just being honest, you know, you do not have to do what the big companies want you to do, and that is going to be to buy their product. They can use all the fancy terminology, they can use whatever that they want, but skewing results so we buy their product is not acceptable. I hope this video helps somebody out there that's looking to get into dust collection or trying to get a little better performance out of their existing dust collection system. Again, hope this video helps somebody. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't mean to make anybody mad, just telling you the truth. That's how it is. Hope you liked it. Drop me some comments in here. I know there's gonna be some crappy ones, so if anybody has anything positive to say, drop that in there too. Make sure to smash that subscribe button while you're at it. Follow for more. This is just the beginning of several videos to come. We're going to be getting into building some crazy stuff. So thanks for watching. See ya.